life's like riding a bike. To keep your balance, you got to keep moving forward. That's not me saying that. That's Albert Einstein. And that's the perfect way to start this conversation about reflective practice and personal development. Because the truth is, we never stop learning, but the way we learn and the way we understand ourselves makes all the difference in how far we can go. So, I'm Chris, I'm the Inner Edge coach, and this vlog is on reflective practice and personal development. And some of the things that you can take away from this is how we understand ourselves, how we learn, some things around self-awareness and the learning mindset. So most of us know what self-management and personal effectiveness is, but have you actually mastered it? So personal effectiveness is about using the skills, talents and resources you already have to achieve your aspirations. And self-management is about balancing those emotions, your thoughts, behaviours, all across different situations that you come across in your life. So when you connect those two, you get a much clearer picture of who you are. You begin to understand your values, motivations, strengths, and even your emotional triggers. So the benefits of that and understanding that is better communication, improved conflict management, stronger leadership skills, and ultimately moving towards like self-actualizing, which is just reaching your full potential. So there's lots of different ways that we learn and how we learn. So thinking about some of the theories about learning is where it sort of gets interesting. So there's a number of theories that I'll go through briefly. So behaviourism, like think Pavlov's dogs. So that's classical conditioning, and that's passive. You don't choose it, it just happens naturally. Operant conditioning is active learning. You want to change the behaviour, like when you choose giving up chocolate for Lent. So another way of learning is cognitism, cognitivism. Anyway, so that's all about perceiving the whole picture, not just the parts of how you learn. So it's reflection, problem solving, recall and memory. So it's looking at a bigger picture and understanding that the bigger picture is the affects all of the little parts that go in for your learning. Then you've got humanism, so that's learning through self-actualization. Here, emotions and empathy matter just as much as your knowledge. Then we've got social learning, which is learning by observing others. So that's group work, teamwork and community. So when you're watching your mum or your dad, you learn through that when you're a child, but you also learn from the wider community as you get older. So that's how you sort of how society impacts our behaviours and our learning, and our network. So the people that you're hanging around with, the people that you're allowing into your space, and you learn from their behaviours. And then you've got constructivism. So that's learning by doing, so reflecting and sort of reconciling new experiences with what you already knew. All of those approaches, I know it's like a brief whistle-stop tour, but all of those approaches sort of shape how you process knowledge. Do any of those sort of resonate with you? So for me, I know that I socially learn, and I learn practically. So the constructivism is probably how I do it, reflect on it, and then understand it a little bit more. So yeah, if one of those theories is resonating with you, then drop it on the comments and let me know. Or if there's anything else that you want to add into that, yeah, drop it in the comments. Whistle stop tour on how we learn though. So then we move on to sort of self-awareness, and it's huge. Being self-aware is huge. When you understand yourself better, you can make more conscious choices about where to focus your energies, where to focus your strategy. But here's the challenge. You need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So you won't always have the answers. And today, in today's society, it's very competitive, and your credibility may be questioned, and that's all right. And it's knowing those things as well, and it's knowing that you can sort of learn from not being perfect and learn from failures. So how can you improve your self-awareness? Feedback. So it sounds really simple, but it's not always easy. I don't know about you, but when I've asked for feedback in the past, some people are really good at giving me good feedback and telling me my strengths, and then they're not so good at telling me some of the constructive stuff, or they're just really bad at telling you how bad you are. So getting told at the end of a hectic day that you need to be more organised might just tip you over the edge. So it's about how we deliver some of that feedback. So timing, structure, and your mindset matter. So praise is brilliant. Getting praise, it's always nice to receive. Are you doing that well? Or you doing this well? Or that project was great? Or I was really impressed by the way that you articulated that piece of information. It triggers dopamine and it fuels creativity. So when and it's important for everybody to be able to receive that praise, because it's like, I'm doing that well. I get a good feeling from doing that well when I get that praise. So I'll continue to do that. Constructive feedback though, or developmental feedback, is what really drives your growth. So you need to take your time, collect your feedback, and reflect on it. So that saying of Rome wasn't built in a day, neither is personal growth. So if you know somebody, or ask your peers, ask people that you know, people within your circle, what you do well and what they think that you could do to improve. So that can be anywhere from work to sports or your personal life. Just make sure that you're asking people that you value their opinions. And sometimes it's always nice to ask people that you know don't like certain things about you. But you need to be in a headspace for that though. So if you're asking somebody that you know may well give you not very nice feedback, you need to be prepared to reflect on that and take it constructively, and not blow your top off and punch them in the face. That's not ideal. So deeper learning. There are different layers to learning. So there's single loop learning, so that's changing your action when something doesn't work. Double loop learning is you're digging a bit deeper, you're finding the underlying causes, and then you're making a change. And then there's triple loop learning. So this is, you've changed your action when something hasn't worked, you've dug a little bit deeper, you found the underlying causes, but now you're reflecting on how you learned it in the first place. So this is looking at, did you learn it from a book? Did you learn it from your childhood? Was it helpful at that time? What was your thought process when you learnt it? So it's sort of digging deeper into why you've learnt that and how you've learnt that, and sort of trying to make sense of it. And then you've also got stages of competence. So the stages of competence is a process of how you go through learning. And you might well, if you go into a new job and you think you start to get a little bit of imposter syndrome, you might be going through some of these stages. So unconscious incompetence is you don't know what you don't know. So if you started to play the guitar, you don't know that there's loads of things out there how to do it, how to put strings, what notes to play, how fast to play, the rhythm. You don't know any of that, but you don't know that you don't know it. Conscious incompetence is you realise you don't know. So you've started playing and there's a whole raft of things that you don't know how to do. Then there's conscious competence. So you work hard, you make mistakes, and you learn. And you're consciously working to improve those skills. So now you've gone past the incompetence stage, you're able to find notes, pluck the strings, keep a rhythm, but you're having to work at it to remember it and to be competent at it. Then you've got unconscious competence. So this is when you can do that skill without thinking about it. So using the guitar example, you'd be able to pick up the guitar and just play it without thinking about it. Kind of like if you've passed your test, you don't think about driving anymore. So there you go, deeper learning and the stages of incompetence. The learning mindset. So throughout this video, I've been making you aware of there needs to be a mindset behind this, and you need to be in the right sort of headspace for it. So we live in a world where learning is faster and more accessible than ever. You only need to look on things like Spotify, the internet, YouTube, here. But most people still treat it like a task to tick off once a year during their PDR, their appraisal. If they're looking at sort of their goals at work, and it's sort of work focused, but it doesn't have to be. So instead, we need to sort of make personal development a top priority for you. Stephen Covey calls it sharpening the saw. So it's constantly improving yourself through reading, planning, writing and reflecting. Your mindset determines your outcome. Henry Ford put it best when he said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And another world-renowned psychologist, Carol Dweck, talks about two mindsets. So the first is a fixed mindset. So you believe that your abilities are limited by either your genetics or your upbringing, and that you can't change them despite everything else in the world. So it's quite a fixed, that's not going to change. Even if I do that, that's not going to change anyway. But there's another mindset, the growth mindset, and that is when you see your abilities as a starting point, something that you can expand on with effort and practice. So you're not limited by, oh, that's fixed, I'm never going to do that. Well, you start to think, how can I do that? And I've got all this knowledge and all this experience to this point, but now I want to go and do that, and how am I going to get there, and what are the resources to help me get there, and who's going to help me get there, and what can I do that will affect me getting there. So the choice, and it is a choice, between the two shapes your future and your progress. So let me leave you with this question. For me, it's about catching myself when I shut an idea down and asking why. So the question is, what steps can you take to develop your growth mindset? And as I just said, for me, it's about catching myself when I shut an idea down and asking why. It's about embracing challenges, seeking feedback, and learning into moments of discomfort. Because that's where the growth really happens. And remember, life is like a bike. To keep your balance, you just need to keep moving forward. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And hopefully, I will be back on next week with another episode. Thanks.